Good morning, all, or happy lunchtime for my friends in South Downs and others of you living in the future. And welcome to Kal-bardr's Corner for this episode of Coffee with Kal. I am Lord Kal-bardr Gellir, Companion of the Meridian Cross, Companion of the Argent Comet, Companion of the Compostela, and Reaper, coming to you live from the Barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridies. Now, yes, I said the southern coast of Meridies, and yes, that is on the Gulf Coast, and yes, there's a giant hurricane coming. I'm aware. We're okay. So anybody watching the maps, that little red bubble at the bottom of the map, I'm just to the right of that. So yes, it is storming, and yes, we may have some connection issues today because of that, but we're good. So thank you for your thoughts, but keep your New Orleans and people in that side of your thoughts because it's getting rough over there. All right, all that out of the way. So for this episode, I figured I'd just start with that, just get the hurricane stuff out of the way early, right?
Get it out of the way.
All right. So for this episode, I am joined by my personal go-to resource, and frankly, others' go-to resource in the heraldic community. If you want to, bend the rules a bit, or as he says, finds fun ways to do the impossible. So I'd like to welcome Magister Taran the Wayward. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, I am Taran the Wayward. I use Magister rather than Master or anything else. It was kind of one of those things when I was looking at honorifics. I saw that a master's degree, a modern master's degree, can use the title of a magister. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's awesome. And figured that when I was awarded my patent, that was the title I wanted to use. I was elevated to the Pelican in January of 2020, right before COVID started everything. I am originally from Adenveld. I've been involved in the SCA. Let's see, my first event was 93 or 94 when I was stationed in Germany. And it took me a while to actually get to where I could actually participate. So that's one. The Taran the Wayward is because it took me so long to actually get to play in the SCA from when I first heard about it and wanted to start playing. So shiny objects, things sent me all over the place. I've been doing heraldry pretty much since I first started. Most of the stuff that I do tends to be device. I tend to be an armorial herald, although interestingly, when I had my elevation, it was based on a heraldic visit. My ceremony for elevation was a heraldic visitation, and I have a cloak I have a resume cloak that has a bunch of. Actually, I share that one. I have a resume cloak that has a whole bunch of devices all over it. Those are for the different people I've worked for. At this point, there's about 60 on there. So the people who spoke for me at my elevation were people who were on that cloak. So yeah, I've been an armorial herald more than anything else. So it's been kind of fun.
Yeah. So I got to say when I got back into heraldry, you were one of the people that I looked to. Like I was finding classes, I was like, "Oh, these are good stuff." I was like, "Why are all these say Taran on them?" Got it. Okay, he knows what he's doing. Let's look at this guy. And yeah, you definitely set the example of some of the good and some of the bad things to do in heraldry. So, and we'll talk about some of that today. I did want to, before we get into our coffee, you mentioned being from Adenveld, and I think you had a cool thing that you did that happened to you during your Pelican ceremony. It was you were presented with a I don't know, about a foot tall wooden pelican statue of some sort.
Yes, the Sun Dragon Albatross, right? So I started in Adenveld. I started participating in the Barony of Sun Dragon, mm-hmm. Which is the West Phoenix metro area. There's three baronies in the Phoenix metro area. Sun Dragon is the far west side. After that first event in Germany, when I finally started playing, I was stationed in Phoenix, and that was home. And most of the people who spoke for me in my elevation, they have moved into all over. People have moved from all over the world. I met them originally from Arizona, and they have a statue that's roughly 1.5 feet tall, plaster pelican statue. I think there. Let me see if I can go find an image of it for you. We're talking here, but it's a plaster pelican that is given to the newest pelican in the barony, and I had not lived in Sundragon for probably, well, I've been in Meridies at that point for almost 10 years. And it had been almost 5 years since I'd been in the barony before that. So a good length of time. But it was sent out to my elevation, and I was presented with it. I wore it for a little while and then had it and sent it back out to Aitenveld. Aha. Here is the image. Let me put this over to the screen share side. There we go.
Oh, it's massive. Oh my God.
It is massive. I think that there's lead shot in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is heavy. But the goal is that you wear it at least once. I wore it to my first. I wore it. The elevation was the last thing of the day, so I wore it for another event. I wore it for my first Pelican meeting. I sent it back out, and recently, when Her Majesty Fiona at the time, said I needed to once this thing had to go to Arizona, I needed to make sure that I had another copy of it. So I found a version recently, and it'll probably go down. That'll go down my lineage to tie my folks back to my history in Sundragon.
There you go. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, "What even is going on?" I don't know what it is, but I love it. So I heard that story the first time. I was like, "That's amazing," and that shows right there the impact of I think your work in heraldry in general. I think across the world, 15 years later, they still think of you as one of their own. So that's really cool.
Well, and think of me as one of their own. I still comment on Aitenveld's submissions. Mm-hmm. I still get contacted by folks in Arizona to help with consultations. When I left, Mistress Marta, who is the submissions herald out in Aitenveld and has been the submission herald for as long as I can remember. When I moved, she said, "You might be going to Meridies, but you're not. But I'm not letting go yet." So there we go. It's been a passion. That's kind of the plan here, right? You find passion and stick with it. So and with heraldry, I get to do service. I get to do artistry. I get to do some research stuff. It's a little bit of everything at once. Kind of my nerding. That's my opinion too. All right, so before we jump into the topic, let's make sure we are not remiss in talking about our coffees. It is a coffee themed show. We've got to do that. Yes.
So today, for me, I love me some fall flavors. Pumpkin spice lattes is my jam. But today I have the cinnamon hazelnut by New England Coffee. It only pops up around the fall, so when I see the first pumpkin spice latte hit Starbucks, I go find me some cinnamon hazelnut from the Publix. So, and of course, out of my Feed the Ravens mug from my Westie Besties. So, cheers to them for that. What about you, Taran? What you got?
So I am drinking so the mug is from my mother. My mother-in-law is a potter. She does Castine Ceramica. It looks like Kirsten when you look at it, but it's pronounced Castine. So this was an elevation gift for me. And I am drinking a mocha. I'm drinking a mocha with an organic Sumatra from Bianco Coffee or Cafe Bianco, which is a coffee shop that closed down due to the pandemic out of Roswell, Georgia. And then I got Penzi's hot chocolate into it.
Ooh. So somebody's being fancy today. I like it.
Hey, listen, if you're gonna do the coffee, you got to do it right.
That's right. So speaking of things closing from the pandemic, make sure you find your local coffee vendors. Find those that need your support and buy things from them. Odyssey is on break at the moment because of the hurricane, but when they open back up, get stuff from them. Great people out of California. Find your local vendors. Buy local coffee. I say that drinking and not local coffee, but I have bags in there. So all local coffee. So all right. So let's talk about today's topic. So for me, I picked this topic up, one, because I've had two really heavy weeks that were two sort of contentious topics. And I was like, I need something fun. I want to sort of just chat and be a nerd for a little bit. And whereas I've taught heraldry on this channel before, and I've done a couple classes via Atlantean U and via Meridia's, I realized I never really just got to hang out and chat about heraldry. It's always been like focused classes. And I was like, who should I get for this? And I was like, oh, never mind. That's a dumb question. Let me message Taran. Like, this is an obvious choice for me. Because I know the people that I nerd about heraldry with, but you're somebody who always comes up in those conversations in my head. It's the what would Taran do sort of conversation. How do we get this done?
And what would Taran do is some kind of dangerous conversation.
It really is. So there was a conversation in the comments about both your motto, but your warning label is,
Yes. So motto. Some people come with mottos. Some people come with warning labels. I apparently have both. Professionally, I'm a social worker. So one of those, a new motto that I just recently found is, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Mm-hmm. So, and that kind of crosses both areas for me as a social worker and as a herald, of helping people register things that they thought they never could. As a social worker, helping families do things they thought they never could. The motto that I chose was "So others may shine." I'm always trying to make sure that's the way you do this, right? It's all about relationships. So many things all at once, right? Social work, I feel, is all about relationships. I'm a professional social worker, and I teach at the University of Alabama. Mm-hmm. So this is who I am outside of the world, but I carry a lot of that into the SCA. So trying to make sure that people have the best chance to be the best person they want to be. But then I was slapped with a warning label by the College of Heralds, actually. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And that came up with yes, an evil thing that it's called this is one of my badges. It is referred to as the very painful experience. Pain, and that is even alone. That is, very painful. Yes, it's painful to look at. I've had people try to send me their optometry bills, but it's worse because the pattern of the background pattern and the pattern in the yellow and black and white there, and to the black with yellow ermine tails is a version of ermine called Pain, P-E-A-N. So this is the V-A-I-R-Y P-E-A-N-F-U-L experience.
Very painful experience. Yes.
Yes. It's now herald. There are only a few pieces of heraldry that are named, right? You've got the Jolly. You see the pirate flag gets the Jolly, right? SCA devices seem to get named when they are eye bleeding or they are horrendous. Mm-hmm. And I have been asked, is that allowed by the convention? I no longer fight, so it's no. So I, but I would be remiss if I did not say that I've considered arming an entire battlefield full of heralds using it. There is another herald device out there that is referred to as as 6 Board Heralds. I'm seeing if I had it somewhere. Where did it go? Oh no, I've lost it. 6 Board Heralds is another piece of heraldry that is just eye bleeding. Oh wait, I know where it is. I know I have.
So while you're looking for that, let me digress a little bit. So
yes.
The topic today is so heraldry is fun, right? So obviously we can't stop nerding about this, but the idea is that I know my experience with heraldry over 4 or 5 years, so 10 years at least total now, has been a lot of people don't like heralds and don't like heraldry because it is a bucket full of law and rules and just painful experiences, right? And I think we as heralds, we recognize that. We recognize that it has been and can be that. And so when I talk to you, like I talk to Kisa about this all the time, and she's like, "But why? Why are you doing? Why do you need a badge? What's this flag? What do you need a flag for?" I'm like, "Because it's funny. It's a pun. It's a thing I get it. Other people get it, but like it's not a thing that's common." So I want to talk about the idea that heraldry is supposed to be fun, right? It is, yes, it has rules, and yes, there are things we do to manage the system as a whole to keep it even, fair, sort of consistent, right? But there's so much you can do, and that's what we need to focus on, is things you can do, not things you can't do.
Right. One of the biggest things about how I come to heraldry, first and foremost, I recognize that this is identity. The biggest thing, you're coming up with when you're trying to register stuff, you're coming up with a name. This is who I am. And you've got this idea for a device, which is this is my logo. This is me on an image, right? So there is a whole lot of self and thought that goes into it. And overall, over the years, I've heard all of the kinds of things. Heraldry point being referred to proctology point, the rules lawyers. Now, quite honestly, we do rules lawyers is probably a very accurate term. So many of the heralds who have been at this for a long time are the two primary professions are computer programmers or attorneys.
Yep.
So when we're talking rules lawyers, we're talking rules lawyers. But one of the things that really gets into that, we like to break those rules. Well, we don't like to break them.
Bend.
We don't want to break them. We don't want to bend them. Rules have loopholes.
It's true.
Rules always have loopholes. So one of the big things that I look at, how do we get what you want within the rule set, right? And over the years, you hear all the time, "Oh, the heralds don't want me to have this. They're no fun." Well, if you're playing Monopoly, I'll have a set of everybody who plays the game follows the same set of rules.
Right.
So that's kind of what our rules are. And our rules have changed over the years. As we learn more about what was done, we try and make rules that make it more sense in period. We also the rules that have gone forward since I've been playing have actually made it easier to get people what they want.
Right.
We want it to be much more period, but we also want it to be more accessible to who people get people what they want. When I moved to Meridies, it was the very beginning of a new renaissance of heraldry. There had been a number of years where prior to me coming, there was a span of years where being a herald in Meridies was not appreciated by others. To the point that when I first got here, there weren't consultation tables being held at events. There were round tables, which generally came in as, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to it was heralds talking with each other, and occasionally people would come in and complain about, I want this and I can't get it. Well, the very first one of these I went to, a guy shows up with a tattoo on his arm that is a blue dragon and a red dragon intertwined, and with the heads facing each other. And they're like, "This is what I want, but I can't do it." I'm like, "Absolutely you can." Like, what? I can't do it. It's like, dude, I can pull that image out of a medieval manuscript. I mean, out of a medieval armorial. So if they did it, we surely can. So let's get this for you. And then my very next event, I carried a consultation in a box, basically, a couple of name books, a couple of armory books, and then an iPad. So I can actually have use to all the tech. And I sat down at this consultation table at a Black Axe in Iron Mountain, and the first 3 people that came by were like, oh, look, it's a submissions table. I'm going to tell you what I want. You're going to tell me no, and I'm going to do it anyways. That was the mindset.
Right.
And hold on. I am a well-versed herald. I am a fully trained herald, well-versed in no, and you can't do that. I use my powers for good, and I know where the loopholes are. Can you work with me for a minute?
Right.
And this guy, the first one that comes to mind at this was a gentleman, Baron Gwydion ap Llewellyn.
Mm-hmm.
He had a favor that he and his wife had, a joint household. He wanted a tree and a dragon and a dove. He wanted the tree. He wanted a dragon sleeping under a tree and a dove. I looked at this. I'm like, okay, how? So we can do this. Okay, if I move the dove from floating in the air, can I put it on the middle of the tree, like it's kind of nesting there? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to connect the tree to the dragon and put the dove on top of it. Yeah. We're going to make this as a fieldless, where it's a tree connected to the dragon, doves on it, fieldless, so we get a 1 point of difference from anything out there, and this is registerable. What? Yeah, here we go.
Right.
You can do that? Rules don't say I can't.
At least not yet, right? That's always the thing. And that's really the thing. So when people look at heraldry, I know a lot of people I talk to do, well, I'll just do it anyways. Because admittedly, you can. Nobody's going to walk up and say, you got to take that flag down, or you can't do this or that. We're not checking. Nobody's walking around the event checking to see if your stuff's registered or not. Like, we're not going to stop you from doing it.
We're not, but depending on, if I have something registered and somebody is using something that is very much like it,
right,
I can generally I can request a crown to say, hey, listen, that's my stuff. Can you reinforce my protection of that?
Right.
So that's one thing that can be done. It's not done. It is not done commonly at all. I think I've seen one instance of that in my entire time in the SCA.
Right.
The only other times that I'm aware of were events being held in Germany where it was held in a castle where somebody lived, and somebody's heraldry was 2 steps very, very close to the actual people in the castle.
The actual castle owners. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember that.
The castle owner's like, that's way too close to my stuff. I don't want you guys to use any heraldry anymore. Not when you're in my house. So, okay, we'll strike all the heraldry. Thank you. But because of that, no, you can't do that, I changed how I approach it. I never tell a client, no, you can't do that anymore. Because once I say, no, you can't, it only takes one example to say, yes, we can. Right? If I can find it in a medieval armorial, I can justify doing that.
Right.
So, my comments anymore are, that's a great place to start. It does not conform to our core rules, which are, this is the rules that we use that are, we don't have to prove anything, right?
Right.
This is, we know how to do this stuff. We can do this automatically. But in our rule set are rules to break the rules.
Right.
The individually attested pattern. Basically, if you want to do the research to break the rules and say this was done we'll help you. And even more, you want to do something fun. You want to do something that is a fun joke. Tell the heralds, let us help. I mean, I have lost count of how many times people have said, oh, I want to do this thing. He. And as we're looking, okay, well, this is the joke. and we did it like, okay, we saw what you did there. More entertaining though is to come in and say, hey, this is a joke I've got. Can you guys help me figure out how to do it? That'll get registered. My primary device is per bend, argent invert, a falcon striking and a falcon striking sable, and a mouse rend argent, right? Mm-hmm. It was, at the time I was thinking, what represents me, right? I wanted to be an honorable person, so that the falconry idea, but I was also pretty meek and quiet, so the mouse. But if you backed me into a corner, I was going to fight tooth and nail. So a mouse fighting a falcon, old ancient meme culture, right? Mm-hmm. The last great act of defiance, right? The mouse fighting the falcon for the last moment. Apparently that imagery held forward, because when I first showed up in Meridier's, Baron Charles O'Connor saw my heraldry. He's like, I remember that. Yes, Charles. I remember that, the last great act of defiance. That was 20 years prior that my device had registered. So you do things that are memorable, right?
Let me pause for a second. I feel like I need to explain this real fast before I get offended. Anybody who doesn't know Baron Charles, anybody who knows Baron Charles knows exactly what I mean by this. Baron Charles has the most magnificent eyebrows. They have a life of their own, and you will see them before you see this man coming. So just that's what this was. Everybody who knows Baron Charles knows his eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, tell us you want to go through a joke, and we'll do what we can for it.
Right.
A dear friend of mine out of Aitenveld, Helena de Argenton, she had registered a joke name, right? The Heralds have this thing. April 1st, we do this, what's called the Letters of Misintent, which are just entirely a bunch of jokes. Puns on names, the heraldry matching the names as a pun. So we do this regularly in April, but it's an entire field of heraldry called canting arms, right? This is stuff that was done. Humans are humans, right? We have been the same for centuries, right? Canting arms exist in medieval heraldry all the way through, right? We'll talk. I mean, the city of Berlin, right? Little Bear. Their heraldry is a bear. Hennenberg. Actually, a couple of things I was looking at earlier today. The city of the Gras of Hennenberg have a chicken on their heraldry, right? This is heraldry for the town of what was it? Herrenberg, and then Schererberg, I believe it was. Hennenberg is German for Hennenberg is hen town.
Yeah, it's chicken town. Yeah,
Hen Hill, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a chicken on top of a mountain. Schererberg, I believe it was. These are shears, and because it's the shearer is the term for scissors. So this is stuff. These are 15th century heraldry. It was done then. Let's keep doing it now.
So while we were on the screen share, you had the 6 board heralds.
Oh, 6 board heralds.
Yeah, we didn't see that one. I saw it up there. I was waiting to bring it up. So while you got it up,
okay, go ahead. Yeah. So we're talking about heraldry is when you name heraldry, it's bad, right? This is referred to. This one here is 6 board heralds.
Oh,
this is the quilter's nightmare.
Yeah.
So the idea behind this, when you have people who are idle hands are the devil's workshop, isn't that the phrase? So 6 heralds. I wish I knew who all of them were. I believe Bruce Draconarius was one of them. I believe Baldwin or may have been another one. But they set about to say, what is the most complex thing we can do that cannot be registered? So that horrid thing of what it is it's a very simple thing. It is a maskell. There's one charge, a simple diamond charge, right?
Yep.
This here, this interior section here is simply a diamond. Okay, this is Gyrony. Let's see, what is it? Gyrony, Vare, and Lozenge, Ghouls, or a maskell counterchanged. That's it. It's a very simple thing, but it's eye bleeding.
Right.
And it was given. What happens when you have something like this? We don't want to have to describe this. We just let's reference it so everybody knows the pain. So that is known as 6 Board Heralds. My horrendous badge of the very painful experience as a blazon for this. It's very simple. Very Ermine Wand Pain, an Ermine Tail Vare. It's very simple. It's both of these things are heraldically simple.
Right.
There's only there's a background and one charge.
Yeah, they look very complex, but they're actually not, because heraldry has a weird, like, the harder something looks, sometimes the easier it actually is, rules wise.
Yeah. Complexity is not the same. The complexity is not the same as intricate.
Right.
I think that's probably the way of thinking about it. Intricate is lots of fiddly bits. How hard is it to duplicate? Complexity is how many different colors, how many different charges. That's all. And that complexity is, we want it to be as close to medieval as possible, because medieval heraldry had low numbers of charges and low numbers of colors. So that's kind of a rule of thumb under it. But yeah, getting people what they want, that's the goal, right?
We had a comment earlier about the idea of saying no, right? And it's, again, heralds here that we totally say no a lot. I like this because no frustrates people. It scares and frustrates them. I think that's a good point. Rather than saying no, Ramoot says we can do something similar, but I don't have to pull out my superpowers to do so. I think that's a good point. So yes, we can do that, or we can do something similar to what you want. And I do this a lot when I'm looking at anything non-European, anything extra European, right? Like, and now it's even easier because we've removed some of the step from core for extra European things. But it's hard to do extra European because it doesn't look like European heraldry. So I've had to use that very similar thing. Is okay, we can do this. It will look different when we submit it, but it will be what you want. We can get something similar to what you want. And so it's all about I think the terminology of that, getting people to not say no, but to get the okay, yes, let's how can we versus how can't we.
Yep. Exactly. And that very idea that we can do this, but it'll look a little bit different. There is a perfect way of doing that. It's called, artistic license is what you talk about with that, right?
Right.
1 second. I forgot to. This
Sure,
is something
right.
I wanted to set up and forgot to.
All right, while you're finding, yeah. So let me define artistic license real quick.
Yeah.
Because that's a pain point that bugs me. All right. So artistic license means you can change a thing to a different style as long as it is still the same shape and color of the thing that you registered.
Yes.
So as long as if it's a pair of scissors, it's a purple pair of scissors. I don't care what shape or what kind of scissors it is, as long as it is a pair of scissors. If you try to put a knife up there and call it a pair of scissors, that's not the same thing. Those are now different charges. But if you want to have an Asian tiger versus a European tiger versus an African tiger, all tigers are tigers. That's what artistic license means. So be careful with that, because I've had people go way astray with artistic license before.
Right.
Try to at least.
So.
What you got? Oh, yes.
So artistic license is my best example for artistic license is I want an orange cat. Okay, cool. If I tell Bill Davis I want an orange cat, I'm gonna get Garfield, right? If I tell Bert Breathed that I want a cat, I'm gonna get Bill the cat. If I tell somebody else, I'm gonna get Tabby at the top here, right? All of them are an orange cat.
Right.
This is what artistic license is. people drawing the same thing, people who are drawing the item from the same description. Right. So, and like with extra European type stuff, what a person in China, the things that you'll see in like Japan or in Mon, if I am a 14th century English person, I'm going to look at that and see something totally different, right? So a lot of times when I'm working with that, and this is working around, and this is working around the rules, but recent changes to the rules have let us, we don't need to work around as much as we can use some of the new changes, like within the last couple of months,
right,
regarding extra European heraldry, is if it was done in heraldry, we're going to recognize it as that culture's heraldry and use their terms, versus we're going to use this thing as what does it look like to a European. A friend one time had a device that he'd been using that had some very specific Mongol symbology to him. And when I looked at it, I saw different things heroically, right? There was a character that looked like a Greek pi letter. There was an item at the top that he identified as some sort of flame.
Right.
But to me,
it's a Mongol specific flaming thing, yeah,
this flaming thing, and to me, it's like, okay, I see a Greek pi character, I see a grenade, and you got these 13 oxtails at the bottom. That looks like a base Rayani to me. Right. I mean, it looks like something of fire. So I can use the rules that exist to get you what you want by visual idea. I'm really glad that some of the rules have changed, that we can start doing those things in culturally appropriate ways, where we're looking at cultural appreciation versus cultural appropriation. And which is one of those topics I believe you've already had, isn't it?
And honestly, one we could do 3 or 4 more shows on, because that's a whole thing.
Social worker, right? I mean, let's talk about the underrepresented. But getting people what they want, right? I think I started to talk about Helena for a moment.
Oh yeah, please, yeah.
Helena d'Argentan, she registered this name of Helena Handbasket. Perfectly documentable. We do what's referred to as stunt documentation, where we get the name a person wants, regardless of how we find it. English surnames are really fun, but yeah, Helena Handbasket was the name. And she registered it as an alternate name, just as a fun thing, because she could, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But she could. And we're sitting at Gulf War, or we're at Estrella Wars at this point in time. And this lady comes into the Herald's Point with this beaming grin going, I've got this name. I really, really want it. I'm new to the SCA, but this is the name I want, and I know we can document it. What's the name you want? Helena Handbasket. Here's all my documentation. Wow, that's great. That's wonderful documentation. And yes, we can do that. Somebody already has.
Right.
And so this lady, this lady was absolutely crestfallen. And Helena happened to be two workstations down, helping somebody else helping another client. Like, oh man, I wish I could do Helena Handbasket. Her ears pecked up. It's like, wait, you want that name or as a backup, or what? No, this is the name I want to use this is the name I really want to use as a primary name. Oh, well, in that case, pulls out a piece of paper and a pen, transfers the name to this lady. It's just an administrative thing. Goes from Helena to from one Helena now to the new Helena, and it's just marvelous things. If you let heralds in on the joke, we love to have fun with the jokes.
Right.
The same guy who had the Mongolian stuff had been going by Ming the Merciless for a very long time. But hey, Flash Gordon, we're not going to register that name. We're not going to register Ming the Merciless.
Right.
But when I came in, I know we can do your heraldry, and I'm sure we can, if we do the name as translated into Chinese, we can do this. And so we came into Gulf Wars. I am really not a name herald, but I know people who are.
Mm-hmm.
I came and said, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to do Ming the Merciless translated into Chinese. Okay. His name is now registered Ling Xiaming, I believe it was.
Ling Xiaming, that's correct.
Ling Xiaming, which translates roughly to Ming the Merciless. He got the name he wanted, and he felt like he got one over on the Heralds. Well, Heralds are a joke.
They did it for him, but yeah, it's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we just joined in. It's like we'd much rather laugh with you than laugh at you, right? Always, always, always. If you've got an idea, we're gonna see it, right? We're gonna get the joke, because heralds have got some of the heralds that I know have some of the foulest minds I've ever seen. And how can this thing be twisted into something else? But then the other part is like another one of my favorite stories of submissions was one from Morgan of Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan of Osprey is he's a very kind and gentle individual, but he has a iconoclastic person. He has an iconoclastic view that's a mile and a half wide. I want to break the mold, right? Some of his heraldry, he has a burned ham. I mean, a ham that is black and flaming. But he had tried 3 different times to register a flaming flamingo skeleton. Now, this is kind of a strange thing. I mean,
but anybody that knows Master Morgan knows. Oh yeah, that tracks. Okay, that's
okay. Sure,
that tracks.
Now, I had never. This was my very first year at Gulf Wars that this happens. Okay, I did not know that I had already developed a reputation for being that herald or that Taran.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to be honest, I have been a character apparently most of my life in the SCA. There is a song that is written about me that has premiered at Penzic. I've never been to Penzic, but this has been. The Rennies who wrote it sold it on CDs in Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah. Before I moved from Arizona to out here, I was in something in a video game chat, and somebody was singing songs in a video game chat, and somebody started the song. They were in Virginia. Now, one of the other people from my shire was in there. We started laughing the moment it started, and she's like, "What's going on? I haven't even gotten to the funny parts." She finishes the song, and we told her the rest of the story. Totally, this is that whole be careful around bards. Your name is funny, has many rhymes. But I was going somewhere else with this. I don't remember what it was. Oh Lord, what were we talking? What was I? Oh, it was
Master Morgan is flaming flamingo.
Thank you, Master Morgan. So he had this flamingo skeleton that he wanted, and Emma Featherston was in the Herald's Point at this point in time. She had just stepped down as Wreath Sovereign at Arms, and he walks in the door, says, "I want to try it again. This thing's already failed a few times." Emma looks like, "Give it to Taran." First consultation I have never met Emma. I have never met most of the people in the Herald's Point at this point, because it was my first time at Gulf Wars.
Right.
Give it to Taran. Okay, I apparently have a reputation. We'll work on this.
Give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Now, mind you, this is before I had registered my very painful experience.
Right.
We'd talked about it. We just hadn't done it. Maybe it was in submission, I think. I'm not positive anymore. But I looked at, in order to do this, in order to do loophole heraldry, okay, we're 45 minutes in, and now we're going to talk about how to get past, how to get past.
Have fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, now how to do it. First things first, know the rules. Mm-hmm. Know what it is that is going to cause your problems. So Morgan wanted a flamingo skeleton. We had never registered a flamingo skeleton. We'd never registered a bird skeleton. We knew that a human skeleton had been there, in medieval heraldry. We knew about a couple of human skeletons. We knew about fish skeletons. So we knew that full skeletons existed in heraldry. We knew they knew about birds and cranes and long stretched neck waterfowl. Okay, so we're going to start with that. I was pretty sure that flamingos, and I was wrong. At the time, I thought that flamingos were a step from core practice. So you're allowed to get one step from core practice, but not two, right? Because one is, okay, maybe it would have happened in the Middle Ages, maybe really stretching it. Two is just way too far out of left field. So I was pretty sure that doing a critter skeleton was going to get us a step from period practice. But I was also I thought that we were going to get another one for using a flamingo. So I decided that I was going to draw a waterfowl skeleton, a waterfowl skeleton. This would be, I'm drawing the tabby cat. And when Morgan is drawing his waterfowl, he tends to use the flamingo nose instead. He's drawing Garfield.
Right.
Okay. I had looked at some of the previous submissions and looked at why they were being rejected. They were being rejected because it was hard to identify what had been done. Every other exotic skeleton that has been submitted prior to Morgan's, every exotic skeleton had the pieces pulled apart. Okay, so you've got the little bone bits were scattered all over, and it's really hard to tell a silhouette at that point.
Right.
This had been done with dragons. This had been done with all of Morgan's birds, and a couple of other things. That the identification of an exotic skeleton was hard to do if you don't have the pieces all connected. Easy identification is it a cohesive silhouette?
Right.
So we drew Morgan's bird all in one piece. And he'd also been doing this as flames jutting off of this thing, which again reduced the identifiability. So we put as a charge on a huge solid color flame, layered on top of it. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have colors combating with each other. You didn't have distraction. So I draw this thing up. I show it to Emma. She's like, okay, well, maybe. I'll give you about a 10% chance of this thing registering. Like, really? 10%? Like, dude, when you started, this was at 0. Take the 10.
Yeah, 0 is better than 10 is better than 0.
And since identifiability was the concern, I walked in the room. Ivo Blackheart?
Sounds right.
I think Ivo out of Onstore. I'm like, it's like I know him. I know his name. I know him. I did. Ivo. Ivo walks in. I'm like, Ivo, what is this? It's a flaming pelican. Okay, cool.
Close enough,
Emma,
yeah.
Hey Emma, I got a bird skeleton. No, Taran, you got a waterfowl. So you're at about 40%. Oh, okay, cool. Then I poked my head outside of Herald's Point at Gulf Wars and saw a couple of fencers. Not heralds, nothing, just don't even know who they were. Hey, you two, what is this? And I got 2 different birds. They identified 2 different bird skeletons. Okay, this is identifiable as a bird skeleton to somebody who doesn't know what it's supposed to be.
Right. Which is the goal of heraldry, is can it be identified by someone who doesn't know what they're looking at?
It is medieval, identify friend and foe. Who is it? Do we want to know them? So we did this, and I told her about this. She's like, okay, you're at 60%. Still don't know for sure, but you're at 60%. That's close. That gives me enough plausible ability that we're going to send that sucker up. And it registered. The biggest goal is know what are the pitfalls of the thing, right? The difference between 6 Board Heralds and the very painful experience. 6 Board Heralds cannot register. It has too much counterchanging.
Right.
The very painful experience has no counterchanging. So lots of small pieces, one charge. It's right. What is the thing that's going to cause problems with it? It's not, and I have been. There are a couple of folks who are like, "Oh no, Tara's telling him how to do what he does. This is a bad thing."
It's like I feel all the heralds in the world is going.
Yeah,
hackles raising.
Damn it, Taran has been used as an expletive a whole bunch. There are whenever there is horrid heraldry that is submitted, I am generally the person who is blamed for it, whether or not I had my fingers on it or not. It just happens. So that's the thing. Know the loophole.
Right.
And so if you don't, and that's the thing, if you don't know what loopholes, talk to somebody about this is the thing. Talk to a herald, and if you are a herald who is thinking no, you can't, talk to a senior herald.
Right.
The moment you're thinking no, you can't, ask for help.
Yeah, tag out, because if you say no, tag out, tag up.
Yep. Yeah, because heraldry is a team sport.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason that we have an entire college of heralds in every kingdom, and we have an entire college of arms that covers the whole society. We've got folks all over the place that want to help, and there are some times where some people get into being a little bit of the fun police. The things that are going to grab you by the scruff of the neck into the modern world.
Right.
There are a lot of, I mean, we're in a medieval group. We're trying to be medieval. And we want to have that. And probably some of the biggest arguments that I see in commentary are when we're trying to determine taste. We are not the arbiters of taste. We are the arbiters of heraldry, and that's the thing that's the thing a lot of us need to remember sometime.
Yeah, I admittedly, I have told clients, I think this is hideous. However, it is legal, and I will happily submit it for you.
And that's the thing, is I am always there about that. That's usually when somebody comes with an idea, this is perfectly registerable. If you want it more period, here are some options, but we don't have to go through those options if you don't want to.
Right. But it's also why when I say that, I try to actually try not to. When somebody asks me, hey, does this look good? Does it look good to you? I'll tell you if it's legal. I'll tell you if we can do it or not. But it's heraldry is you. It's a you thing, right?
Yep.
And so we've got a few minutes left. I want to shift topics slightly, because I want to talk about, we've talked a lot about how to do the heraldry and what we can do with some heraldry, right? So you've done a lot of fun stuff with heraldic display, and you teach a whole class on branding, which I need to have you do for me at some point for the lantern stuff, because I took it when I first went back, and I was like, this is a great class on the sort of like modern concept of heraldry. Because it's hard. I think people don't understand what heraldry's for. I know Keith and I have that conversation all the time. She's like, "What's this for?" I'm like, "It's your brand. It's what you're doing." Like, I'm making some banners right now for me to take to Artemisia, because why the hell not? Like, I want to be big and bad coming into court, like with all my stuff behind me, because it's cool. So what are some things we can do that are fun with heraldry that maybe we don't see as often?
So that idea that the heraldry is your brand, heraldry is your logo. We see this, right? everybody who's watching this knows that's Batman,
Yeah.
right?
Or a bat displayed sable, right?
Yeah, or a bat displayed sable, a rear mouse displayed sable.
It's true, yeah.
Heraldic term.
Yeah.
But we know that instantly. So heraldry is very much about your personal logo. And quite honestly, here's the thing. If you can think of a place that a logo goes on things, your clothing, let's see, where can you find a Nike swoosh?
Literally everywhere.
Exactly. If you can put a Nike, if you can think of a place that Nike would put a swoosh, put your heraldry, right? Down here in the South, tailgating is a thing, right? You go to an SEC football tailgate, and you've got people that are putting iconography for their university on everything that stands still or moves, right? If it's still long enough for me to slap a logo on it, it's going to have the school stuff on it. And
I had an uncle who used to run a screen printing business, and that was his logo. Was if I can hold it still long enough, I'll print it.
Yeah,
and that's the Southern mentality of printing. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the same mentality of heraldic display, right? I can put it on flags. I can put it on banners. I can put it on tabards. I can put it on shields. I can engrave it into my armor. I can put it onto my feast gear, on my bowls, my cups, my silverware. I mean, let's emboss it in the bowl of the spoon that I'm using. Let's put it all over on my tent. Let's put it on my tent. Let's put it on the 50 things that are around it. My bedspread, my carpets, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Cormac Moore is, and this is where intricate is a problem,
right?
Because you're talking about how easy is it to reproduce. I mean, I always get this thing of, hey, how well can you draw? Well, I can trace. I can use a stencil. Okay, we need to do something that's easier for you to draw then. Because my heraldry with a mouse and a falcon, fairly simple heraldically, but there's a lot of fiddly bits in the mouse and the feathers of a falcon. My wife's heraldry is ghouls, or a pair per pale argent ghouls, 4 wolves' teeth ghouls.
Yeah.
So this is red on one side, white on the other, and 4 curves going towards 4 red curves going across the white. That's it. I can draw that heraldry with a ruler and a compass.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do it in a couple of seconds. My heraldry with the 2 critters, it takes me a couple of minutes, and I can draw it fairly well, but it still takes me a few minutes to draw. Whenever we're trying to design a new way of displaying heraldry, hers is always the prototype, because I can reproduce it pretty quickly. So she has a little bit more heraldic display than I do, because it's easier to do. So, but that's the thing is always, what are ways you can reproduce it? Right. There was Koblaith. There's a Koblaith Mermison, I believe it is. I cannot remember how that last name is pronounced. He's a herald that Coblait.
Mm-hmm.
Is his name. He's got a website that is one of my go-tos for. Hello, I'm not sure if you can. My father-in-law is starting the mowing right outside the window. But Koblaith has a page of at least that he was doing for SCA 50 year, 50 things at least that you can do with your heraldry, and he's showing period examples of what was done with heraldry, and there's at least 50 different things. I've tried to do as many of those as I can, or that I try and do things more and more and more. One of my favorites is heraldic batons and maces. Mm-hmm. So, yay, big fun, wonderful thing.
Actually, the first heraldic class I found of yours was your heraldic batons class.
Heraldic baton. So this is the heraldry for my pelican, Edward of Yarborough. And when I became his protege, that was the goal. I was taking belts on one day, and the very next day he was going to be entering crown lists. So I was going to be his herald, and we did as much heraldic display for him as we could. It was based on stuff done in the Middle Ages. A lot of stuff by Anton Tyrrell. The resume cloak is based on Anton Tyrrell. Some of the maces that I use are based on Anton Tyrrell. Let me see if I can pull up an image for that for us. Maybe.
Well, so you mentioned Baron Cormac as well. So Cormac did a really great job recently. He put out a 4-part article on heraldic display, specifically on banners and gonfalons and flags and period. I'll link that out on my channel later today because it's a great sort of walkthrough of different heraldic display items.
Okay, nope, that's not it. Wrong file. But yeah, there are more things that you can do than not.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
And really, it's about doing. Pick a thing. Do some things. Oh yeah.
So these two images from Anton Tyrrell, from Tyrrell's roll. You've got this gentleman, tabard, shield, and on this mace you have heraldry. You have Anton Tyrrell here with the heraldic cloak, and these are all the people he's worked for, right? Including the Holy Roman Empire, which is up here on the top of the mace, and also on this little shield right here on his chest. So this image and this armorial is where I'm pulling a lot of my ideas of what I want to do with heraldic display, right? Tabards, heraldic cloaks, the resume cloak of who I've worked for, the maces, the batons, heraldic badges. Mm-hmm. So heralds, when they were not entering into a tournament, they were still a messenger and an ambassador. So they had a little small badge that they would wear, and depending on what they were doing and what level of herald they were, would tell you where they would wear it. But if I was riding on horseback, I would have it on my back shoulder so that you could see I'm on business.
Don't shoot me.
Please, yeah. But so I've made a couple of those, and I've used them when I've done ambassadorial things, because that's the other weird part about heraldry. You can do the voice part of it, right? Right now, if the king wants to go in the Middle Ages, if a king went into another territory, right? Is he here to cause a problem, or is it a state visit? Right. So you want to send an ambassador to say, "Hey, our folks are coming. We're not invading. We're just coming to visit, right? We're visiting our royal cousins." So you want to send an ambassador ahead. Well, Glenavon was having a 10-year celebration, and I had been invited to herald for the elevation of Ryan Delas, for his elevation to the Master of Defense in Glenavon. Well, Meridies was planning on coming to the 10-year as the crown. So hey, listen, I'm going to be there anyways, guys. Can we do some shtick? Yes, you guys. Yes, the king and queen and the prince and princess are going to send an email and say we're coming. But in a medieval setting, that would be sending your ambassador to court to say we're sending this invitation.
Right.
So I went into court in Glenavon as representative from Meridies, not wearing a tabard, because I was not announcing their presence. Right. But I had the mace, and I had a badge that had Meridies logo, that had Meridian heraldry on it. So I was there on official business, but not in full tabard. Just a lot of fun little things we can do.
So yeah, there's a whole class Master Alexander teaches or taught years ago called the Herald and Violet. It talks about a lot about the job of the heralding period and things like that, which is a great class. And again, I hope to have him come back at some point and teach that. So, all right. So as you all can tell from watching here, Taran and I can nerd about this for hours. But we're going to call this today. We are just over an hour now. So let me do a little bit of business, and we'll say our goodbyes here.
Yep.
And if you're interested in more heraldry talk, there's a couple things here on the channel. I've done some classes, and I'll be posting the Lanterns Light channel here soon, which is my role as Lantern Herald from Meridia's Education. And there's some formal classes out there as well. We'll be adding more to that over the coming year. So look forward to those. All right. So coming up next on Kal-bardr's Corner, so we're taking next Sunday off. We ended our Consort Conversations channel. I mean, our next show has not yet started, so we're going to take Sunday off, rest and get ready for Artemisia. But the following Sunday, so 2 weeks from today, I'll be in Artemisia and be joined by Her Excellency Ramut to talk about retention. We talk a lot about recruiting. We know we talk about how to keep them here. So looking forward to that. My first live show, first like in-person show. All the shows were live technically. First in-person show. So COVID numbers withstanding and flights not getting canceled, I will be there for that one. Which is a predecessor for the following week, where Ramut will be starting her own series here on Kal-bardr's Corner, The Road to Retention. Her first guest being Magister Bree from the Outlands, talking about, basically it's going to be an interview show where they talk about how to retain people, how to keep people in the SCA, and how to make them feel welcome. So looking forward to those, but that interview or that coffee with her, and then also her interview series she's starting. Last but not least, for shows coming up, if you're not busy later tonight and pending this storm does not blow my power out, Kal-bardr's Corner would like to welcome the cast of Whose Cause Is It Anyways? This is an improv comedy show done by Her Excellency Sophia, where they pick a random topic or pick a random thing to raise money for. And of course, this one is for the UN Refugees Coalition. So tune in for that, make some donations, or just come hang out and watch some fun comedy. So I'm looking forward to hanging out and goofing off with them backstage and seeing what that goes, because I love a good improv show. If you want to support everything we do here on KK Productions and Kal-bardr's Corner, look us up on Patreon, patreon.com/KK Productions, and join the Grand Wall of Patrons. We just sent out this quarter's rewards. The boards are looking amazing. I'm super happy with them. And because of the delay, I made sure all of our patrons this month got a special sticker. Hi, you're going to jump on camera again? And of course, if you want to find us on Redbubble, search KK Productions, buy some stickers. Also, if you're on the Clock app, look me up on TikTok at Kal-bardr. There you go. That's all I got. That's all the things. Anything coming up for you, Taran? You want to promote any shows you're aware of, or collegiate anything?
Not that I didn't plan for any of that beforehand. Okay. I'm sorry. There was a comment that just came up. So no one mentioned that amazing heraldry shirt. This is actually a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. I saw it at some point, had to purchase it, and it is one of my official things that I wear whenever I go to a known world heraldic symposium. When I'm not in garb, I'll have another T-shirt on or something and wear this shirt over top of it every time.
It's a fantastic choice for the show. I appreciate you. In a non-garb show, you still look heraldically fantastic. So I appreciate you for that.
Absolutely, man.
All right, Taran, man, I appreciate you as always for being a source of heraldic knowledge and just for hanging out with me and talking to that. I appreciate you for that.
This was fun, and again, heraldry should be fun. If we're not having fun, why are we doing it? Okay?
Yeah.
This is what we do for our free time and our fun. So let's have fun with it. So thank you very much, Cal. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. And of course, thank you all out there for watching. We appreciate you tuning in this week and every week. If you're on the Gulf Coast, stay safe, keep the doors closed. Let us know how you're doing after the storm. If you need something, reach out to the disaster relief coordinator for the kingdoms, and the SCA will band together and help you as we can. But on that, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. This has been Taran and Cal in Kal-bardr's Corner. Have a good day, everybody.